For us it's so easy because we've grown up with that. We've seen that, okay, you work hard, you study hard, you get a good job, you get a great job, you keep getting promotions in whatever you're doing, you earn more, you get into fancier house or drive a fancier car, right? But these are not linear equations for kids that we work with. So this was something that I used to struggle with. So do we really kind of talk about their reality in a harsh manner? Do we cushion it? How should we do it? And I don't think I have answers for any of these questions, but these questions used to trouble me and continue to trouble me. But I'm convinced that unless kids are convinced that there's something in it for them, that achievement is going to bring them, there is that whole, reward for the effort, the effort-reward equation, if that's not really clear to them, they can't see the link between what can happen 10 years down the line. And that's really what we're trying to tell them. This is what can happen to your life 12 years down the line if you do well in grade 1 or grade 2 or grade 3. It's just so far away. So it's really, really hard for them to make that connection. Goals are overwhelming for kids, right? So how can we break them down into the tiniest component and actually celebrate every little achievement? So this again I learned from Rajshri. Every little baby step, celebrating, I think, every little baby success just makes them feel that, okay, success is doable. So even simple things like, okay, 5 new words that I've learned, and say that, these 5 words we've got it out of a college textbook and you learned it in class 7. And that's a huge achievement, right? 5 new words is not like a great thing to do for the kids. But it used to be a struggle initially at LTL. I remember even getting them to understand, learn and use those 5 new words would be a huge struggle initially. But then they slowly got into the loop of things. But it was literally these breaking down a larger goal into really detailed, tiny goals and celebrating each of these successes. Again, telling them time and again that academic achievement doesn't define who you are. It's simply, you get good grades in class 10, you just go to a better college. A better college means bigger opportunities that are opening up to you because your peer group is aspiring for something that's much higher. It's as simple as that. It's not that, if you don't do well in class 10, you're not going to be a success in life. And there are many examples to the contrary. But just helping kids understand that every achievement means you're opening more doors for yourself. And with every non-achievement, you're just closing some of those doors and it's going to be a little bit harder as you go along. Okay. And achievement orientation is just who you are. It's not just academic achievement, but just this whole drive that I don't want to turn in anything that's mediocre. I don't want to be associated with anything that is mediocre. So, and of course, enjoying the experience and the people. So in 2007, okay, one, I had a health breakdown, and second, I think I just wanted to step back and understand what I wanted to do. And what I wanted to do was to work with government systems. And I also believed, and because of my health breakdown, and I visited a whole lot of doctors and hospitals, and I started thinking that what do the poor of India do? Even for me, without knowing a doctor, getting really a good diagnosis was not possible. So, when you talk about going to a JJ hospital or Sion, it's the most scary experience ever. I work at Sion Hospital and I can tell you how scary it can be, right? And it also set me thinking that academic achievement is so interlinked to health, nutrition and early childcare, right? There's enough research to prove all of this. If you Google it on the net, you'll get like 1 million papers that have been published on all of this. So if I believe very strongly that every child in every public school can be learning and growing well, then can we look at something a little bit more holistic and look at the health and nutrition piece as well, okay? So the questions that I ask myself are really 2. And for me personally, the 2 ends of the spectrum are really important. Kindergarten to 3, that's when most of the major development takes place, and then again from grades 8 to 12, which are really, to me, they're 2 very important turning points. And what happens in between is really not that important. If you set the foundation really right and if you ensure that they don't lose direction towards the end, a lot of the battle is really won. This is something that I don't have any evidence other than my Akanksha experience of working with adolescents and just my own interest in learning about education to prove that. But this is something that I just feel in my bones. That if you can take care of the primary bit and make sure that the primary bit is really well taken care of, and then you come in and intervene again between grades 8 and 12, there's a lot that you can really do. So like I said, there's millions of research. I just kind of quoted randomly from stuff that I had. Better nourished children perform significantly better in school, partly because they enter school earlier, right? And thus have more time to learn, but mostly because of greater learning productivity per year of schooling. So the cost-benefit analysis suggests that $1 invested in an early childhood nutrition program in a developing country could potentially return at least $3 worth of gains in academic achievement and perhaps much more. So the whole health, nutrition and early childcare piece is well researched and it's really strong, right? There's strong links between socioeconomic status, just the levels of hunger that our kids go through and achievement levels. Okay? There's very strong evidence to show that if a child, as simple as in a poor country like India, if we can ensure that every mother breastfeeds a child till age 1, right? It just sets in a brain development which is much higher than anything else. But because a lot of our mothers have to go out to work, what do? They start introducing complementary feeds and all of that when the baby is really tiny. So then the baby gets into this whole cycle of malnutrition because it's complementary, it's not breastfed, so the baby gets diarrhea induces malnutrition, and it's just one unending cycle. The number of diarrheal deaths in India is scary. It is scary, and you just ask yourself why. With so much help in Bombay city, 1 out of 14 kids die before the age of 5. It's huge. Why should they be dying? Simple things like can't each one of us who work in communities go and tell the mother of a newborn baby, listen, breastfeed your child till age 1. Easy, simple, cheap and safe. I'm just quoting studies from the US because ICDS data is really very badly put together. But school breakfast, just the whole midday meal scheme actually originated from here. Okay? If you provide even one meal in school, one nutritious meal in school, whether it's a breakfast or a lunch, depending on which shift the child comes in, it just ups academic achievement in over 70% of kids. That's massive, right? Iron deficiency. Almost all of us in India are anemic. In children, iron deficiency anemia is very high, right? What does that cause? Short attention span. Most of our kids have that. Irritability. Again, we have behavioral issues. Difficulty in concentration, loss of energy. 4 classic cases that we see in children, simple thing like anemia, right? And again, all of this, if you focus on children in the 0 to 3 age group, okay, which actually the government is supposed to be doing and not doing really well, most of it is taken care of before the child gets into school, and that's the way it should be, right? And the head start that kids get in that between the ages of 3 and 7 or 8 because of better health and better nutrition and therefore better academic achievement basically underscores that the point that you have to look at health, you have to look at something a little bit more holistically. Okay, so to me, it's never just education. I think achievement orientation is about physical empowerment. That means good health, right? Obviously, just why can't everybody have access to good health care? Okay, why can't everybody have good access to good schooling? Okay, and why can't everybody feel loved and supported through our